What is going on, YouTube? It is Primitive here, and today I'm be bringing you my EX2 updated Bond of Friendship Blue Hybrid decklist profile. Now, if you've watched any of my content in the past, you know I love Bond of Friendship. It is probably my favorite archetype, and the Blue Hybrids just complement it super well because you're able to slow down the game to give you enough time to where you can have enough bonds or enough mats on the board to where you can promote, gain a bunch of memory, go into Bond, and go in for game and whatnot. And in EX2, we got a tool for this deck that I've been waiting a long time for that really helps this deck and makes it go a lot faster and be a lot more aggressive. And we also got a couple other little tools here and there. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into the list. Alright, starting off with the Digitama, we are going to start with the 4 Kiaromon. I do like Kiaromon in this list because we are playing a blue hybrid package. You are going to be stripping a lot, and so you're going to be able to draw a lot more. Upamon is good as well, but we are just playing it as a one-of. I like Kiaromon a little bit more. I feel like it does allow me to get a bit more draws. It's a bit less conditional than Upamon is, just because there's a lot more Digimon that I feel like have sources to strip and whatnot. They're both very good. You could swap this either way, and it's going to be fine. I just personally really like Kiaromon a lot more. I feel like I get more draws off of Kiaromon per Digimon than I do with Upamon, and that's really just my main reasoning. Now, getting on into the rookies, we'll start off with our Gabumon. We're going to have 4 BT6 Gabumon. This is pretty standard. You want to be able to get that third swing with Bond, so having the Inheritable is really nice, and also being able to have another source that gains you memory on your opponent's turn is always nice. You can get some little sneaky memory gains to pass turn when Gabumon is out and they swing into Mat, but you want to max this out as 4 because this is your main piece, and it's not that bad to have in hand because, like I said, you can reduce Mat with it. Then we got 4 EX1 Gabumon. This card is also just very good for consistency. When you attack, you're going to be able to look at the top 3, grab a Tamer or a card with Gabumon in its name. So you're going to be able to find your Tamers, or you're going to be able to find Bond of Friendship. So this card does help a lot. I think it's a bit weaker in this list than it has been in some of the other Bond of Friendship lists that I have played, but it's still just such a good consistency card that I do like playing it. You could consider it cutting down to 3 if you wanted to make another little flex spot. I don't think that would be too bad, as long as it is still a Gabumon, because you're going to need Gabumon names, but EX1 Gabumon just feels a little bit weaker than it has in the previous metagames. Then we got 2 of the BT1 Gabumon. This is just on-play draw 1. I wanted to have some more on-play Gabumons. The starter deck Gabumon that allows you to get the DP buff is also kind of nice. You could play this instead of this lot, but I decided I would just prefer to get draw. This is something nice to be able to pass turn. It is going to probably go down because it is a 1k, but it's not that big of a deal. It's mostly just about being a Gabumon name and also just recycling for 3. So just playing it at 2, and these are the 10 Gabumon names that I play. But like I said, you could switch these if you want. I think the 4 BT6 one is really all you need, and then you can play the 3 EX1 and then switch these around if you want, but this is just what I prefer. Then we got 2 Madoki. I just really like Madoki. It's an extremely powerful card. I put this in pretty much all my blue decks whenever I can because blocking memory gain is extremely strong, especially in a metagame where memory boosts are played a lot, which this metagame is, and probably will be looking forward into the future as well, just because memory boosts are super strong. Hammer Sparks are strong, Jack Raids. We have more Inheritables now that gain more memory, like we got Labramon in EX1 or EX2, and just there's a lot of things that you can block. I think Madoki's a very strong card. Then to finish off the rookies, we are going to be having 1 Strabimon. It's just a very good consistency card. One of the main reasons why I played Gabumon for this one is because I wanted the on-play. I found times where I was going to need to hard play rookies, so I decided to play a Strabimon. I was playing 3 Madoki, decided to just go down to 2 Madoki and play the 1 Strabi so I could have more stuff to hard play that could give me actual value and consistency, and Strabimon does that. There's going to be a lot of times where you hit a Tamer and a Hybrid off of this, and adding both those to your hand is going to be super good, so I do like the Strabimon. You could cut this if you wanted to, or you could go up in it if you want to go down to Madoki, but Strabimon is just a very good card. It is still a blue hybrid package, and so we just want to search out those cards as well. Now, getting on to the champions, we will have our hybrids. We are playing a blue hybrid side package, so we're playing the 4 Kumamon and the 3 Korikakumon. I only play the 3 Korikaku because it is just a side engine, the blue hybrid. The deck is focused a bit more towards the Gabumon, and this is just kind of the supplementary cards, so I don't need to go 4 and 4, but Kumamon is the main card. There's a lot of times where you just Digivolve this on top of EX1 Gabumon, and that's much better Digivolving for 2 than it is Digivolving for 3, and you're going to be able to get the Kiaromon draws off the Kumamon as well. So Kumamon is just very good. I prefer this at 4 over the Korikaku, but that's just what we're playing for our level 4 hybrids. Then we're going to be having 2 EX1 Ikakumon. This card's just very strong in the metagame, being able to swing over things like Gabumon and Mastimon, being able to swing over cards versus D-Reaper. Even just in the mirror match or against Imperial and stuff, you could swing over EX1 Gabu, you could swing over whatever. When you have cards that source strip, Ikakumon is very strong, so you can swing over them, but the main thing is it synergizes very well with EX1 Gabumon, which I've talked about is a really strong consistency card, so I prefer having forms of champions that you can put on top of it that are going to actually be good and have a high chance of getting more than just one proc off of the EX1 Gabumon. As for with Kumamon, if you swing with it, it's probably going to go down. With Ikakumon, you could swing over a Digimon, and then you have a chance of it coming back. You could swing again and get another proc with the EX1 Gabumon. Then to finish off the champions, we are playing one of the EX2 Leomon. This card is very interesting. So on deletion, you're going to be able to have gain 2, draw 1, which is mostly what we're looking at here. Being able to have a way to be able to swing a check, be able to get EX1 Gabu, and then be able to, if it goes down, gain 1 and draw a card. So you just searched off of EX1 Gabu, and you get to draw a card, while also gaining 2 memory, so essentially paying back the memory you paid to Digivolve it. It's very good. The other thing, though, is it is a blocker on your opponent's turn if you have a Tamer, so you can pass turn with this on top of something like BT1 Gabu or Strabimon or something, pass turn. Now you have a blocker on the board, which is going to be very nice, because on deletion you're going to be able to gain 2, draw 1. This card is also very strong in the Rapidmon matchup, because if you have this out and they go to 3, then they will promote, go play the Rapidmon. The Patamon will gain them a memory, go to 0, but on deletion you gain 2 memory, so it'll come back to your turn. So it's just a very interesting card for some decks to have to play around, but overall it is just very strong. Alright, now getting on into the ultimates, we are just playing the 2 Beowulfmon. This is going to be much lighter than people are used to in Blue Hybrid, but it is much more focused on Bond of Friendship, so I had to make room to cut for other cards that I think the deck needed. We will be talking about some flex cards here in a little bit later, so there are spots in the deck where you could very easily go up in Beowulf count if you want to, but for right now I'm just playing it at 2, and I think it's fine. It's a nice little put your Korikaku underneath, you swing, bounce it back. You get to bounce back a level 4. It is nice, but when you're going much lighter on the Blue Hybrid package, which you'll see when we get to our Tamers, Beowulf isn't as strong. Then we got 3 Bond of Friendship. I pretty much always play 3 Bond of Friendship. I think it is the right number to play. 4 is way too clunky. You're only going to go into 1 of these a game, maybe 2 if you're playing against a super slow deck that is just not swinging at you for some reason. But you're really only playing 1, so you only need to see 1 in hand. If you're playing 4, then you're probably going to see 2 or 3 in hand. I already see 2 to 3 in hand at 3 consistently, so you really only need to have 1. There are some games where it is a little bit harder to find 1 at 3, just because maybe 1 or 2 in security. That means you can only play with 1 in the deck, but I think for the majority of games, 3 is going to be better because you're just going to clunk it in your hand. If you draw 2, then you automatically already pretty much have a dead card in hand because you're only going to play 1. So having a number that is the lowest but most consistent is, I think, going to be 3. I think going any lower, you're not going to see it enough. As over 3, I don't think it's going to make as big of a difference, and you're not going to brick as much. Now getting on to the Tamers, we got 4 Matt. This is more Bond of Friendship focused, so we're playing 4. A lot of other decks that play the Bond of Friendship Blue Hybrid cut down to 2 or 3, but they are much more focused on the Blue Hybrid. So since we aren't in that vein, we're more so in the Bond of Friendship area. The Mats are going to be better, especially I think this card is just insane. If you're playing Bond of Friendship and you're playing Mats anyway, you should probably play 4. It has the highest consistency of playing it. You're going to be able to gain memory and draw when you get this out early, or you can have big turns where you have 2 or 3 out, and when you promote a Gabumon, you get to gain 2 or 3 memory, draw 2 or 3 cards. You're going to have a bunch of memory to go for the Bond OTK turns, and also pairing it with BT6 Gabu. If you're at like 0 memory on your opponent's turn, they swing security, play Matt out. Gabumon's all turns effect of gain a memory is going to activate and pass turn. I've had little cheeky ways where I've had pass turn from that, so it's just a very strong card, especially in a Bond of Friendship deck, so 4 just is what makes sense to me. Then we got 3 Davis, pretty standard, just our main memory tamer. Being able to search is very nice, being able to not get choked is even better, so playing it at 3 is the kind of just staple number that I fit with most memory tamers in most decks. I think 3 is correct, especially because a lot of the times with memory tamers, stacking them on top of each other doesn't do too much. In this case, it's fine if you get a couple Davis out, you get to search, and then you can Digivolve on top of one with a hybrid and not be too worried about getting choked, so you'll still have another one. But for the most part, I think when it comes to memory tamers, I think 3 is correct. Then we got 2 Sorojo. Even though this deck isn't as Source Strip focused, this card is still insane. You'll be able to get enough memory off of this to where it's going to help you go up to 7, 8, 9 memory with the combination of Davis and Mats and memory boosts and stuff to be able to go for Bond OTK turns with hybrids. And this gives you essentially the memory that you need for a hybrid if your opponent has no Digivolution sources. But the main thing is being able to swing and tap to strip sources consistently is very strong. Being able to strip things like Gabumon from underneath a Lady Devimon so they can't DNA Digivolve next turn. Being able to strip a Pyildramon so that its Dragon mode is much weaker, or just make it so they don't have anything to play off of Dragon mode. And it's just very good. It pairs really well with things like Howling Memory Boost to be able to stun things. So I really like Sorojo. Even in a Source Strip deck, I think Sorojo is just very good because even if they just hard play a rookie, then they're giving you 2 extra memory, so it makes your opponent play a lot weirder as well, which is usually good for you. Then we got everybody's favorite card here, Tommy. We're only playing it at 2 though because I was playing it at 3 and then 1 Sorojo, but I decided to cut back to 2 Sorojo because it's just much more consistent. Tommy is still very strong. It's a very good card. Being able to strip sources, being able to come out of security and strip sources is just super insane. And then of course its inheritable is very strong. We all know how strong Tommy is, but in this specific deck with less Korikaku and less Beowulf, having multiple Tommies does feel a little redundant. So I decided to go up in the Sorojo. This is still just strong enough card to be able to strip sources off of big stacks and then be able to go for stuns that it is still worth playing. But I liked it at 2. Like I said, I was playing it at 3, but now I've switched over to 2 and 2. I think it's pretty perfect. There's a lot of times where you would like a Tommy, but you can make so many different plays with the Bond of Friendship package that you can play in different ways to where Tommy's not needed. It's just a very strong card. Now getting on into our options, we got 3 Hammer Spark. It's just a very good, versatile card. Put it in most blue decks. I think 3 is fine because we need to make room for other option cards that we're about to go over, including the Howling Memory Boost, which I'm also playing 3 of. So these both combine to be memory gain option cards. This one's a bit more immediate and this one's a bit more committal, but being able to stun things is very nice. These are a little bit weaker to memory blockers or whatever, but with having Bond of Friendship, Ikakumon, and Beowulfmon, it's much easier for us to get rid of memory blockers, so these are just fine. And I was playing 4 and 2, decided to go 3 and 3 here just because Howling Memory Boost is way too strong. It just felt fine, and you really don't see too big of a difference between 3 to 4 Hammer Spark, but having multiple memory boosts and just being able to memory boost into memory boost into memory boost to like stun things back to back to back is super good. And hitting this out of security is also 2 memory gain. It's not as immediate as Hammer Spark, but it's almost a little better sometimes because you get to choose when you gain this 2 memory, as to where with Hammer Spark it is immediate. Sometimes it doesn't matter because they weren't going to use that memory anyway, whatever. But these are both very strong, obviously. Then we got our flex spots here, which is 2 Rattlestars. If you wanted to go up in Beowulf, you wanted to go up in Tommy's or something like that, this is probably your flex spot to put that in. But I think Rattlestar is very powerful in the metagame right now. It's going to be able to bounce anything that's level 5 or lower, which is very good for bouncing things like Lady Devimons if they have a Gabumon underneath, bouncing a Pyildramon. But the main thing is that it's very unique in that it's being able to bottom deck any Digimon as long as they have 3 or more Digimon on the board. And there's a lot of things that you would rather bottom deck than bounce to hand in the metagame. For example, Gatekeeper and Mother D-Reaper. If they have 3 or more Digimon, you don't have to worry about level anymore. Just bottom decks any Digimon. You can bottom deck Gatekeeper. Now it's at the bottom of their deck, and they're not going to be able to play it for cheap next turn for just free. Like, they would have to have another one in hand, and you're not just bouncing it to their hand to guarantee that they can play it. That you bottom deck it, which means that they now have a chance to not have one come out next turn, and you can get that opening in. You can bottom deck things like Dynasmon if that's really annoying. Bottom deck a Zwart Defeat if you don't want to get rid of it or something like that. Being able to bottom deck big things for 5 is nice. It's kind of like this deck's Mega Death. It is a little bit different, obviously, but I do think Rattlestar is very strong in the metagame. I was pretty much anti-Rattlestar for a very long time, but the thing is the card hits metagames where it's very powerful, and I think this is one of those metagames where Rattlestar can really shine and will be pretty much slept on most of the metagame, I'm sure. Then we got 1 Ice Wall. Shout out Team Ice Wall, just playing the maximum that we can play in the deck. I wish we could play more, especially in a defensive deck like this, but just want to play that 1 Ice Wall. It's got a great security effect, just like a lot of the other cards in our deck with the Tamers, with the Rattlestars, the Sparks, the Howlings, the Ice Walls, all that stuff. We do have some very strong security triggers. Then to finish off the deck, we got 2 offensive plug-in A, the Secret Spice from EX2 that I have been waiting for to pair with Bond of Friendship. This card is super insane. We used to play Bond of Friendship with the red package with the Lightning Joust, and then you would play Ties, and then you had access to Hero last BT8 if you wanted to add that in, but this is much better because although it is a red card, if you control a Tamer, you can skip its color requirements, and we're going to definitely be having Tamers in this deck, so you're going to be able to play this without having to have a red source, and you're going to be able to give security attack +1 to any of your Digimon. So when you pair that with Bond of Friendship and BT6 Gabumon, that means you're going to be able to swing for 2 checks, unsuspend with Bond's effect, swing 2 checks, unsuspend with Gabumon's Inheritable, and then swing another 2 checks. If you have 2 of them, then you're swinging for 3 checks, so a total of 9 checks. And even if you have something like EX1 Gabumon, and you promote, go into Bond, and play this and swing 4 checks, that's usually enough for you to be able to go in with a hybrid or 2 and be able to go in for game, just getting 4 checks, and it's very cheap. It's very hard for your opponent to play around, and now you don't have to preemptively play red hybrids and or red Tamers and be able to search them out with EX1 Gabumon and have these red cards that are dead in your hand because you don't have your Tamer out. That is all gone. Now we just have a pretty much almost unconditional security attack +1 for 2 memory, and the security trigger on here is another very powerful one. You're going to be able to reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. You get to grab a Tamer from there, and then you add both to your hand. You'll be able to add the plug into your hand no matter what, even if you don't miss a Tamer, but being able to search the top 3 out of security, grab a Tamer, and put both to your hand has helped me a lot. There was a game just last night where I was playing where they swung into offensive plug-in and security. I was getting choked for like 3 turns in a row. I reveal a top 3, I reveal a Davis, I add both of them to my hand, I play that Davis, and then 2 turns later I go Bond with plug-in and I win the game. So this card just fits really well with Bond of Friendship. Being able to have strategies where you swing and unsuspend with security triggers, especially when you're unsuspending twice, is very strong, and then you do have the consistency of the security trigger, being able to search more Tamers. So this card I've been waiting to play with Bond of Friendship for a long time. It fits really well with the Tamer package too because we have so many Tamers to hit. So I just love this card, and I'm very excited to get to use it now. Alright, but that is going to be this deck list profile. If you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe, and if you're a big fan of Bond Friendship like me, let me know down below, but I will catch you all next time for some more Digimon content. I hope you have a fantastic day. Peace out.